What's up, you guys? Matt Jablonsky here with the Point of Change. Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Tuesday. Today is 2/22/22. That's a pretty awesome date, pretty amazing stuff. Today we have an excellent show for you. I'm going to be joined by the one and only Tommy Chong is here to talk about cannabis. We're going to talk about addiction. We're going to talk about the ways cannabis can help people who are struggling with addiction or in recovery, detox, withdrawal, and even in long-term recovery. Cannabis is known to help people with mental health problems. So I think this is going to be a really awesome video. Please make sure you guys share this video out. Throw up some likes and loves. Give me a comment. Let me know where you're watching from or a recovery date or something like that in the comments. And then I will get some shout outs here and then we'll get on track here. Lonnie, what's going on? Danielle, good to see you. Evie, good to see you too. Danielle, what's up? Hey, my niece is here. Josh and Lori Mutimer are here. Curtis Nelson, what's going on, man? Benjamin Duffy, good to see ya. Brian O'Brien, what's going on, man? My mama's here. What's up, mama? Devaney, good to see you. Jessica, Ida, Amber, Karen, good to see everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Looks like we already got a scammer. That's cool. He's adding comments. That's building up traction, right? All right, guys. Thank you guys for the shares and the comments. Hey, Abigail. Sue Stock, good to see you. Catherine, good to see you. All right, guys, I'm not going to waste any more time. We're going to bring on the man himself. Guys, throw up every heart in the world and help me welcome my guest today, the king of cannabis, the sultan of sativa, Tommy Chong.
Wow, that was great. Sultan of Sativa.
Wasn't that good?
I'd settle for the Popadope, but I like the
I didn't think of that one.
The Sultan of Sativa. I'll go for that one too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on here and taking some time to spend some time with some recovering addicts like us.
Yeah, well, we're all in the different stages of recovery, regardless of, what your status is, because that's just part of life.
Yeah, I agree. I've always said recovery is for anybody. It doesn't matter if you've done drugs or not.
Yeah, well, actually, dieting is recovery.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is good.
Yeah.
I just I did a little talk at a there's a what do you call it, dispensary here in LA, Dr. Green Thumb. And the owner, what he did, he started his own cannabis recovery center using, the 12-step program, only instead of, denouncing cannabis, he embraces cannabis and he encourages the recovering addicts to use it, the best they can. And I did a little talk. And you know what I found? I really enjoyed it. First of all, it's like talking to a regular nightclub crowd, because there's no difference.
Yeah.
It's the same age, same dynamic, same people. Only difference is that these are people that had bad experiences with opioids or drugs or whatever. And now they're on the road to recovery. And I was they were kind of ambiguous as to whether or not I was going to speak, because I don't think they wanted to say Tommy Chong speaking, because then that would entail, appearance fees or whatever, but I was just invited like as a guest. But of course, you couldn't shut me up if you tried. So I got up there and did my little observations. But what I really realized, the drugs that trap you, they trap you physically, and mentally. That's what got you in there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And then mentally is what gets you out of there. You just go, oh, this isn't good. And your body says, you're right, change habits and everything. And that goes with every kind of drug, including food. But you know what I found out? I said, this would be a perfect place to teach tango dancing. Can
Yeah.
you believe that?
Was there a good amount of floor space there?
No, the tango dance itself lends itself. Well, first of all, it's a dance that came from Africa originally, and it was a mating dance, and I think it still goes on there. It's when the girls of age meet the guys of age, and they meet at this dance, and then they play with their feet a lot, you know, and it's a African dance, but then they took it when the sailors went sailing around the world. They would go to brothels. You know, they were black sailors. Therefore, they were restricted in a lot of areas as to what they could do socially. So what they would do, they would go to the brothels and hire the hookers to dance with them, and they taught them how to dance. And like I say, it's like a mating dance. And so even right now today in the modern milongas or the dances, the girls are on one side, the guys on the other side. Girls are sitting at tables, looking beautiful, and the guys are kind of wandering. They can sit, but most of them they're too nervous. They're wandering around, and then when they want to dance with the girl, they walk over, and they don't ask the girl. They just look at her, eye contact. And if the girl wants to dance with the guy, she knows that he can dance or whatever. And or if she's not, if she doesn't want to dance with him, she doesn't make eye contact.
Oh,
If she does want to dance with him, she says yes with her eyes. And so
ah,
what it is, it's a beautiful uh, uh, cultural cultured event where good manners are very important and good dress. You have to dress, men have to dress beautiful, the women dress beautiful, and it's like a beautiful meeting
yeah.
of the people. And I was looking at that crowd that I talked to, and I thought, oh man, this is be perfect for tango dancing. So I'm going to introduce it. I just told you, this is the first time I mentioned it because I'm going to tell the director of the of the place to add it, and then I want to see. I would like to see it travel across the continent in the world, because that's like dancing is how the slaves and the Spanish uh, coped with their everyday life. You
Oh,
know.
okay. That's an excellent dance is definitely an excellent coping skill, and I like the idea of the physical communication that would work on
Yes.
your that would work on the connection that humans have other than the human voice.
Well, what happens? You become an individual based on how you look and what you can do. You see,
Oh,
the
okay.
better you can dance, the better looking you are, the more popular you will be at these dances. And
Oh,
you
okay.
don't show up, unprepared. You
Yeah.
show up very prepared. And a lot of times, and then girls dance with girls and guys dance with guys. And the reason being is that there's a lot of the girls that weren't that gorgeous or whatever, uh, they got tired of sitting and waiting for a guy. So they said, "Oh, do you want to dance?" And so the girls would dance with each other, and same with the guys. So it's
Oh,
like a. But what I loved about it's like there's no restriction as to looks, age, gender, any of that. You know, and
yeah.
I've seen Malangas where guys is almost 90, 100 years old still dancing.
Hey,
and
now that's
and
good.
women. There was a woman, a friend of ours. We're taking dancing here, and she lived almost 100. She was in her late 90s, and the dance teacher, who was my dance teacher too, he would meet her every week, and he would they would dance tango. She almost at the end had dementia, but she would lose it the minute she got on the dance floor. She would lose all that because the body memory kicked in.
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
interesting.
telling you, so that's what I want to do. I want to add that curriculum into the rehab
Hey, that
rehab thing.
I like that idea, and I really like what your friend was doing there. I know I've heard there's a lot of progressive movement towards cannabis use for people in recovery. It is a little bit of a counterintuitive thinking to think that a minor mood altering substance could help someone with a substance abuse problem. But that's exactly what we're seeing. And have you had any experience with any of your friends over the years that got a little too carried away in drugs, but now they just smoke weed?
Oh yeah, I'm one of them. I wasn't so much drugs as it was cigarettes.
Oh, okay.
I had a cigarette habit since I was 14, 15 years old. I was in Army cadets in Canada, and that's the first thing you learn, how to smoke, drink, and act bad. And so I had, I was addicted without, I was one of those guys that look around the house for a cigarette butt,
Hmm.
you know, and, uh, and it was cannabis that got me off for a couple of reasons. Number one, it was very scarce in that time. Number two, uh, I learned that whenever I felt like a cigarette, I would light up a joint. But I never finished a joint ever. Even now, I got so much dope, I can't give it away. But uh, I when I light a joint, it's funny. I watch myself. I'll take a couple of tokes, and then my immediate reaction is to put it out.
Yeah,
No,
it's kind of
but
that cessation, the smoking cessation. It's like it takes the wanting away.
yeah, and what was back in the day, you never knew when you're going to get more cannabis,
Hmm.
and so you treated it. At least I did. I treated the joint very, very special. In fact, even today, I still got a habit of rolling these little skinny pinners. They're called,
Hmm.
and because back in the day when I was playing music, we had a dealer come around, and he was selling them for $1 a piece, and it was enough to get a buzz and for the whole band. Even we'd share one for $1, share a joint, then go in and play our asses off, because you never got if you got too stoned, sometimes you would forget where you're at, or a lot of times. But if you were just got that buzz, that edge or whatever it is, and
Hmm.
and so I've maintained the same habits, and
Hmm.
and I think that's one of the reasons I'm still on all fours, all twos.
If you didn't know it, you heard it here first, folks. Tommy Chong crawls around his house, high out of his mind. Oh, that's great. So there is an attitude in the recovery world. Myself and other people like me are trying to fight this stigma towards cannabis use in recovery. That people
Yeah.
just feel that you're just trading one drug for another, or that cannabis is evil in some way. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, think about it. They called cannabis the gateway drug.
Hmm.
So if it was that good, you wouldn't have to go through the gate. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's in a gateway to nothing. You're there. You're already
Yep.
there. But because it's a gateway drug, that means that it's really not as powerful, as good, or whatever is addicting as the drug that you go to. And I can understand that. You start out with pot, and then someone introduces heroin, and there you go. Boom. No more pot. Everything's heroin. In Canada, in Vancouver always had the highest junkie population, heroin addiction, practically in Canada, sure, and probably in the world, uh, because we're the first stop from China, and that's where all the heroin comes from. Uh, Mexico, but it's a port city. Well, during, I guess it was the '60s, heroin was selling for $5 a pop. And then they said, okay, they wanted to raise the prices. In order to raise the prices, they cut off the supply. And when they cut off the supply, junkies came out of the alleys or wherever they were onto the street. It was like roaches coming out, when you uncover something and you see all. It was kind of disgusting, because they're junkies. they're half dead, they're waiting for their fix or
Like the
sick.
zombie apocalypse came
They're,
crawling.
yeah, and they're lined up. Well, at the end of the Hastings Street, that was Hastings Street. Now, this went on during the price raise uh, for almost a mile of junkies on the street, and then they showed up with the dose of at $20 a pop, and then everybody went back into their holes or whatever they were coming from. So uh, there's a cannabis cafe that opened up at the end of that Hastings Street. Well, I was there a few times. They're good friends of mine. Mark Emery and Jody Emery were the ones that got in trouble for it. Mark went to jail and everything else for the cannabis. But I saw the junkies, the heroin addicts, coming to the store, and they would get their cannabis, and then they would sit there and puff on their cannabis while they're waiting for the dealers to show up. That was their way of coping with the sickness, because people in the non-junkie world, they'll say withdrawal. They think withdrawal is sort of like, oh, withdrawal, you stop doing something, but withdrawal is another word of extreme discomfort and illness. That's what withdrawal is. Cramps, pains, just horrible sickness, nausea, everything. And that's why the junkies need their medicine, because that's their medicine that keeps them from going down that path. And it's it's like a circular firing squad. You're killing you're killing yourself increments at a time.
Amen.
So the cannabis, because like me, take a couple of tokes, put it out. Why? Because it's not addicting. You've taken your medicine, you've had it, boom, put it out.
Right.
And when I went to jail, I quit cannabis purposely, because I wanted to. When I found out I was going to jail, I in my mind, I said, I'm going to be the most perfect inmate in history. I'm going to follow every rule, because I've had friends in jail, and I've heard the comments about it and how it is. What happens when you go to prison? You lose your freedom in more ways than just one. You don't have any rights. And so if you break any law, which they intend you to do, because other than that, their job's very boring.
Exactly.
If no one's breaking the laws, those poor prison guards, man, they're caretakers.
Yeah, who are they going to take care of?
They're like orderlies. And so when I went to prison, I quit smoking, period. And I got drug tested. They would get me in the middle of the night. They would have people offer me dope and then test me right away. And they did all these. They were trying their best to embarrass me, And they never. I quit cold turkey for 3 years. 3 years, and then the minute I was off probation. Well, actually, not that minute. I went up to Canada, and I was on the beach, and I had my joint. I'm going to smoke up for the first time, and I did, but I was wearing the wrong shoes. And I was on a rugged beach with logs. And after I got high, I went for a little walk, and I stepped on the wrong log, and I did a triple axle, whatever, and landed on my back, and it was like nature saying, look lively there.
Yeah, watch your step, man.
Watch your step.
Tommy, it's look at the time. I just recently went over 5 years off of methamphetamine. On February 3rd, I got 5 years off of meth. And cannabis,
man.
Thank you so much. And cannabis has been a huge help to me in my recovery.
Sure.
And as a recovering addict and a cannabis user, or stoner, if you will, I think it would be amazing if I could smoke a little weed with Tommy
Oh,
Chong
absolutely.
at
Absolutely. In fact,
420 on 2/22/22.
okay, I'm going to find me a nice, okay. Here's,
Yeah.
here's, here's my orthopedic kind of joint here.
Oh, look at that
Yeah.
guy.
Isn't that nice? And the other thing I do for a hobby, I make joint holders
Oh, really?
out of bamboo.
Oh, look
Nothing
at that.
fancy, nothing fancy.
Huh. Oh, look at that.
Because I got into a habit of I fell in love with bamboo for some reason. When I was in prison, I had to take what do you call it? Botanical, learn all about soil. Because I wanted to work in the garden with my buddy who ran the garden, and because I missed a count one time, they banned me from the garden. But I could go to school, so I started studying horticulture, and I learned how to grow weed. By the way, that's what I learned how to grow.
Yeah. Well, Tommy, it's awesome to have you on here. A pleasure, brother.
So I fell in love with bamboo. I still do. I'm from Canada, and when I started dealing with bamboo, it's such a beautiful plant. And so I come up with this idea of in the course I'm taking, at the end of the course, you had to write out your ideal business. What business would you like to dealing with the plant thing, growing and selling? It could be gardening, or you could do a lawnmower, lawn caretaker thing. When it came to me, I said I want to get a bamboo grove, and then just use different things made out of bamboo, and trinkets and all sorts of, there's so many things you can make out of bamboo, furniture, they're making flooring, all sorts of things,
Nice.
because it's such a beautiful plant. And so I got into finding bamboo that had been stressed through the weather, and then cutting pieces of it, and then polishing it, refurbishing it. And then I saw the coalition between a human being and bamboo, because here's a bamboo, no fault of its own, just where it was born, and it was caught in such a thing, and because it was the wind, it tore off a limb or something, it had grown a different kind of texture around it, and then it was being rubbed by other bamboo. Anyway, I'd get that piece, and then when I polished it up, it looked so beautiful, because it would show all the tension, all the stress that it went through as it was growing.
Wow.
Became this beautiful piece of art.
Amen.
And
And
I
what
see
a
it, and I
beautiful.
see how people in bamboo are the same way. By no fault of their own, they've gotten into this thing. But the thing is, the problems that we get into is usually of our own making, and it's usually because these are the lessons that we have to learn while we're on the planet, because we're only here for a little while, and I liken our stay on Earth to a semester in school. You're in
Yeah.
school to learn whatever you are at that time, and then. And because I look at, like, the bamboo, for instance, the bamboo is living like ourselves. It has a spirit, it has a soul, and it has everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see myself coming back as a bamboo plant. You know, why not? Why
Right
not?
on. Right
Why
on.
not?
Hey, why not? It's a life form, that's for sure. And I love the analogy you made there about the bamboo plant. I think that's a really beautiful analogy for recovery. So many of the people that are watching here today, and myself, that we went through so much, at some of it at our own hands, some of it because of where we grew, some of it because of the people around us. But when we come into recovery, that's what we're doing, is we're not trying to get rid of our past or cover it up. We're just trying to make something beautiful out of it. And that what you were doing with polishing the bamboo, you know, and
Yeah,
bringing the not hiding the faults in it, but bringing them out, you
bringing
know.
them out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a beautiful analogy right there.
Hmm.
So were there any other drugs that you ever did? I know you lived through the eras of cocaine and such. Was there anything other than cigarettes that ever had a hold on you that took you a bit to step away from?
No, I was scared shitless of every drug. I tried cocaine. And I tried speed too, you know, not methamphetamine, but there was for a while there was diet pills going around, and it's sort of had the same thing. Uh, it was a financial thing. I couldn't afford any of that shit. You know, if the only reason I got turned on was I was a musician, and I'd have some fans say, hey, you know, here I got some coke, you know, but I was, you know what I got turned. You know what saved me is bodybuilding.
Oh, really?
I was 15 years old. I went into YMCA, and for some reason, I went to the weight room, and there was antiquated old ass weight. No one ever used it. It was just stuck away there. But I started playing with them weights a bit, you know. And what happened, a buddy of mine, we got in trouble together. Uh, he had a record, so he went to jail. I got a slap on the wrist and a fine. But he came out 2 years later, buffed. Man, he'd been in there working out. He had a chest and arms and shoulders, and, you know,
Yep.
and we were identical, almost like brothers, you know, same size and everything else. And I looked at him. I said, "Man, what happened?" He said, "You know, working out." And I thought to myself, "Oh, I wish I had gone to jail."
There's nothing
but
else to do in there.
yeah, but it
Yeah.
started, but it got me on the, oh wait, it's okay. So I started reading the books and, you know, looking at the magazines and that. And then what I loved about weightlifting is it's a solo activity. You don't
Hmm.
need anybody. It's just
Hmm.
you. And but you always have people around you that, you know, can help you and give you
Spot you and stuff.
instructions and everything else. So I went heavy from the time I was off and on, because I was playing music too. So I
Yeah.
played music for a while, but whenever I got the chance, like when we got a gig in Vancouver, and that's all we had to do was play at night. Then I joined the gym, and I went at it pretty good. And I made all the mistakes, you know, that early weightlifters do. But what it did, it took me away from the hard drugs, the cocaine, the alcohol, because what it is, you know what makes junkies? Leisure time.
That's a
That's
good
what
point.
makes junkies,
That's a
because
good
they're
point.
sitting there going, I'm bored. Oh, but once you get chewed up, you're not bored anymore. You know,
No.
you're nodding, or you're tripping, or if you're a methamphetamine, like I was in jail
Then you're
with
doing
a,
everything.
I was a mess. I was in there with this meth head. I'm sorry I'm laughing, but
No, that's fine.
he would walk around the track with a little hitch in his get along, you know, like
Hmm.
he had this little weird way of walking. And so I finally I said, "What, man? Were you in a car accident or something?" He says, "No." He said, "I broke my back." I said, "How'd you break your back?" He said, he was a floor polisher, and he would do meth, and he would spend like every waking minute of his being polishing floors. You know, he was an animal. He was polishing, you know, big department stores and shit like that, and he's just polishing, and his back got all stiff, and so he had this 300-pound friend of his crack his back.
Oh man. Yeah.
and I guess he was on meth too, because he broke his back. Now I'm laughing. It's
That's
so
serious, but yeah, that's funny.
it's
Wow.
serious, and he's just hopping, you know, doing that little hop there. I I never liked speed. It fucked up my teeth. You know, you start grinding your teeth.
Yeah, I don't. I got these are all fake. I have 9 real ones on the bottom, but
Yeah,
all my teeth are
yeah.
gone.
Oh, you were all for it. Are you a
Oh yeah.
redhead by any chance?
I have a little bit of Irish in me, so I have some
Yeah,
red hair.
yeah. I think because they make good athletes too, good quarterbacks. You notice that? You
Yeah,
see a
yeah.
redhead that can play sport, man, get back. Uh,
Yeah.
I noticed that, but I can see an Irish. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
got
not.
my Irish is mostly in my beard. I have like a red beard.
Yeah, but you got that soul. You got you
Yeah,
got
for
that
sure.
you got that Irish soul. Yeah, I'm part Irish too.
Oh.
About a quarter or whatever.
Yeah, somewhere in me. I'm a mutt. I know I'm a mutt, but I have
We
some Irish in me somewhere.
the truth is we all are.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
it's just
watching.
like,
I went on a Hitler rant last few days. Because I got a TV with a zillion shows I can watch. And so
mhm.
I went to documentaries, and then all of a sudden I started seeing all these Hitler things. And I was big. I think I was born in 1938. I think I was in the war somehow, another life, and because I'm just fascinated by the whole Second World War. So I got on a Hitler thing, and I was checking Hitler, and that was his problem, man. He got on into meth heavy.
Mhm. Yeah, the history of meth is it's a pretty messed up story, but Hitler was a pretty big player in the whole role of it. It was invented in Japan, or amphetamines they were synthesized in Japan. And then Hitler got elected, and they didn't really find a use for it in Japan. And then Hitler got elected, and he was like, I have a use for that. I'm going to make super soldiers. And most of the German army was pumped up on meth,
You
like
could
a
tell.
lot.
You could tell those
That's
guys were
like Blitzkrieg and how much
crazy.
ground they covered.
Especially when they headed for Russia instead of heading for the oil fields. Had they head for the oil fields, we would be going jawohl.
Yeah.
but instead, like a meth head,
Yep.
he got his back cracked. That's what happened to Hitler.
His head was cracked. That's for sure. He just got to a point he was like, I think they're talking shit about us over there. Let's go over there.
Yeah. Well, what happens, I guess, in fact, I know for sure that you become so of the earth, you lose your spirituality.
Yep.
It's hidden away, and it's sometimes it's so far you got to search for it to get it back. You're so far under. It's a trip. That's why these shows like you got here, in the rehab centers and that, you're it's like you're a decompression chamber.
Yeah. That's a good
People
way
are
to put
coming
it.
back. You got to get them back to where it's okay to be cool. It's okay to be calm. Oh yeah, read about Jesus, read about Moses, read about those people. Because they had the same problems you had. The only difference is that they knew where the power lies. See, that's the whole
Amen.
point. We are, as humans, we are so perfect, perfectly, beautifully made. But we all are like galaxies in the heavens. We all have the same energy, and we're all have different purposes to be
Mm-hmm.
here. And that's why who we are kind of determines what we are and what we do. But it's all here to learn. And by the way, evil is something you have to learn too,
Mm-hmm.
because when you think about eternal beings, as which we all are, we have to learn everything, and that way, and that's the reason why the scriptures say, "Don't judge not."
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they say that is because everybody that's doing anything at all here is fulfilling the purpose of why they're here.
Amen.
See, there's
Amen.
no mistakes. God doesn't make mistakes
God don't make junk.
ever, ever, because if you look through the same lens, you'll see that a mistake is just another handhold of learning. Only it's just in a funnier place,
Mm-hmm.
It's,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because
you learned how to not do it.
that's it. You got there and say, well, okay, next time I'm going to grab the easier one, And there is a next one because the next one's up further up. You see, that's why you don't repeat what you do. You keep expanding and growing. Now, if you're going down, say, the wrong path, the negative path, let's do it this way. Because when Trump was in Charlottesville, he said there are nice people on both sides. That upset the shit out of a lot of people. But he was right. He was right because what it is, what evil and good are balanced, and you can't have one without the other.
Amen. Amen.
So you got positive and you got negative, and and it's only when the two collide that you have power, conflict, and conflict creates power, and that's why we're in a war zone. Earth is a war zone. If this Biden war, the Putin war wasn't beginning, there'd be another, big Kim Jong-un or some other warlord stepping up, because there's always been violence and chaos on Earth, and there always will be.
There always will be.
There's never been a time when there wasn't.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. How when you start to look into good and evil, that you see all these people that have done the most amazing, wonderful things in the world, and you have to realize that you have that capability inside of you as well to do all those amazing, wonderful things. And then we see the evil that has been done in this world, and eventually you have to come to the realization that you have that capability inside of you as well.
Yeah, and the beauty of our existence is the choice. The freedom to choose. The freedom to choose.
I agree.
And
what a beautiful God we have.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what you choose, because you're going to learn something. Yeah. I'm kind of connected with an organization now that are dedicated to getting the pot prisoners out of jail, because pot's now legal and they shouldn't be doing any time. Well, a lot of their hearts are in the right place, and they come to me because I've been in jail. But a lot of times they have me on television shows and stuff because they want to hear the dirty side of prison, that, oh my God, you won't believe what I saw, that kind of the cinema version.
Yeah, they want the Hollywood version of prison.
Yeah. But the truth is, it's whatever you make it.
Definitely.
If you want to be noticed, you can be noticed. If you don't want to be noticed, you can disappear. The thing where I was in, I was so respected that I felt like an elder in a church, because I basically, that's what I was. And I played games. I had fans. I had everything. But more than anything, I had myself. And time alone is time with God if you do it right.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to look at it. It really is. We're never alone.
No.
I've told people before, because in recovery, like when you're in an active addiction, especially using like drugs of abuse like meth and heroin and stuff like that, you got a lot of people, I don't want to call them friends, but you have a lot of acquaintances or friends around you all the time. You're always going and doing something. You're always hanging out with people. And then when you come into a life of recovery, we kind of become reclusive because we can't be around that many people, because people open up opportunities to get high and stuff like that. So you kind of have to become a very loner type of person. And so many people relapse because they're bored. Oh, I'm so bored. I have nothing to do. I have nobody to hang out with. And I try to tell people, you're not actually bored. You're experiencing blissful peace. And you'd have never felt that before. So you think it's boredom. But actually, that's a beautiful place to be, just by yourself. Nobody blowing up your phone. Nobody knocking on the door. Like, that's a beautiful place to be right there.
Oh, isn't it? But you have to be at that stage of your life where you can accept it. That's the freedom that we have. You see, and that's why you can't judge, because the people that don't understand, they just don't understand, and the people that hate, they fear and they don't understand. You know, they've scared themselves, and they, you know what I'm saying. And so when you, what you got to do, all of us, you have to realize that everything that we need to know about living on earth has been written and said and spoken so many times that you don't hear it anymore. You know, because what you have, you can't, uh, being, having, you know, say, showing people the so-called right path, uh, to me, if they're not ready, it's like giving directions to Disneyland to a stranger that has no fucking clue what Disneyland is, you know. That's
a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's so what I come to the conclusion, and I'm so happy that I have, is that we are so individual. You know, we share traits with people that we love and everything else, but the truth is we are so one of a kind that eventually we will realize that. And eventually everybody will be calm and cool and collected, because they're in where they're supposed to be. They're in the place where they're supposed to be. But old geezers like me, you got to put a spoiler alert on us. because a lot of times we will say things to people close to us, family, that aren't ready to accept that point of view. And when you do that, then all of a sudden you become this old kook and crazy. And that's why old people, a lot of times, they just sit there quietly. They could talk, but they don't have to, because no one's listening. and no one would understand them, really. And the only time you get them talking is when you ask, because that's what Scripture says: ask and you shall receive.
Amen.
Seek and ye
Amen.
shall find. But you got to be looking for something. You got to know what to ask for. And that's what we're waiting. Us old folks, we're waiting for people to catch up, because it's a spoiler alert. I can tell you things that, well, you know yourself, you're going through them right now, you know, the recovery process, you see.
Mm-hmm.
But go back a few years or whatever, and you're not that guy.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was a
Total
different guy
different
there,
person.
a
Yeah.
different person, total different person.
Yeah, and I've talked in the past about the identity crisis you have to face when you come into recovery, because
Yeah,
you're not that same person anymore,
no,
and you'll go through a phase of, who the hell am I? Am I this new, like, nice guy, or am I that old guy that used to steal from stuff and do drugs all the time? Which one
yeah.
is me? And you have to eventually you realize that they're both you, but neither of them are you at the same time. You are not the things you've done. You are not anything. We are a beautiful light being that we're just happen to be in this physical form.
Yeah. Well, the world keeps moving. See,
Mm-hmm.
see, it keeps turning. We're not static in any ways. We're whipping through space right now, 1,035 miles an hour, right through space. Boom. And as we move through space, everything moves. And the I Ching says the only constant in this universe is change. And so everything's changing. And so you weren't who you were a day ago, because a day ago we were 136. No, an hour. I don't know how many. We're way the fuck back there. And so every day you're a new person. Every day you're
Amen.
new. And that's why every day when you wake up, you got to give thanks, you know, for being able to understand where you are.
What a beautiful way to put it. Yeah, I love that, because, yeah, it is. You are a total different person. Like today, I have certain priorities. I have certain goals. I have things that I remember and things I've forgotten. Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to have new goals. I'm going to have new stuff to do. I'm going to have new memories that I didn't remember today. I'm going to have stuff that I forgot that I was remembering today. I'm a whole new being every
Yes.
day. I love that.
Yes. Isn't that great?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that great? And that's why when people say I'm bored, they're supposed to be bored. They're supposed to be going through that feeling. Because if you don't go through that feeling, if you don't get that boredom, you won't have nothing to talk about later. you know, you know,
Yeah.
because it's every feeling, and that's why the Bible says we're observers. We're here to observe, beholders. That's the word. I always get mixed up. Behold this and behold that. Behold the universe. Behold the world. That's why God, in the Bible, was totally right. But it is written by writers, and writers are poetic, and writers have imagination, and writers will write down things that should be as opposed to what they really saw. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's why the Bible says that when Moses was escaping from Egypt, God parted the Red Sea, and then Moses got through, but when the Egyptians got halfway through, he closed the Red Sea on them. You know, I mean, that's a hell of writing, man.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
thinking, oh yeah, let's make a movie out of that one. And they did,
And they did.
yeah. But it's our imagination, and that's who we are. You
Amen.
know, that's
Amen.
who we are.
Yes, we are. We are not the physical form. We are not the house and the car and all the stuff. We are this beautiful being inside of us. This is just a vessel.
It's amazing too, because I've been on, like right now I'm working on a project for the homeless, and
Oh, right on.
and it's pretty awesome. But so I'm doing a lot of like research, uh, because I've always said that cannabis, weed, will save the world. That's been my mantra forever. That's why we did Up and Smoke. That's why we are right where we are now, because of that thought that I had, where cannabis will save the world. And then I started looking at the world, and if you look at it as it is, it's like it always has been. There's some beautiful things, but there's some very, really ugly, horrible things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And and what I found out, okay, in order to save the world, you don't want to change anything. You just want to use what's there, and then just move it around till it fits, like a Rubik's cube or a puzzle, you know.
Right on.
And so what we got these problems, and we have is usually financial. We have them that don't have, them that want to have, and them that might have. We got all these. It's like a fish in an aquarium. They're all different sizes, but we're all in the same water. And so the problems we have, they're not really problems in a sense. They're solutions. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing the effect of a true physical plane of being, where you have to move. You have to move, or you have to have someone move for you. You can't just sit there in anything. Be it science, be it literature, be it anything. You have to keep evolving. You have to keep evolving. It's a natural order of who we are.
Right
And
on.
so you got to be careful that you don't want to you don't want to upset, say a growth field by tearing out this, and all of a sudden that provided shade for this. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be
Everything has a
very careful.
everything has a purpose.
Everything's connected,
Mm-hmm.
and so by fixing the world, the only way we can fix it is through our minds connecting with other minds, so that we see the vision together. Because like the homeless problem, they got in LA, and I could have been a homeless real easy. And the reason is for California is it's the weather. You know, you got a choice of sleeping in some crappy dive or on the street.
Yeah. Sleep on the beach.
You know, or in the beach.
Yeah, wake it up, beach view.
Yeah. So you're not dealing with desperate people. In other words, you're dealing with actually probably some of the most clever people on the planet. You know, because they're doing this with nothing. In fact, they're taking nothing and making something of it. You know,
Yeah.
there's so many of them. They're here. Like I'm one of them. When I saw the weather report of California, I was in Detroit, and I just got fired. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do now. And I saw a movie from California, I Love You, Alice B. Toklas, with Peter Sellers. And it was all about Venice Beach and the hippies. And I said to my now wife, I said, that's where we're going. Why not? Why not? Nothing
Yeah.
keeping me here. You know, oh yeah, I had a wife and 2 kids, but I can go and then bring them with me when I get there. You know, they're fine here. And that's what I did because of the weather. Now, when I got here, I had nowhere to stay. Where did I stay? Oh, we stayed in a motel. And then we found a little rental place. This is my girlfriend. And then and then she went home, and then she came back. Anyway, we survived, but we're here because of the weather. And that's what's in LA. That's what's attracted so many homeless, because
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. And so now, but they're screwing up neighborhoods.
Yeah, yeah.
So now you got people that paid a shitload of money, worked very hard to get where they're at. Now you got a guy living, you know, within
For free out on the sidewalk.
eyesight, and the habits, they're, you know, aren't the best. You know, their hygiene habits. You know, and so it's not a good mix. In fact, one time I was looking for a house, and I went to Venice, and I looked at this one house. It looked nice. It's kind of on the beach, and I thought, oh, this is nice. What's the yard look like? So I went outside, and there was a homeless guy in a tent living on the other side of the fence. And I walked into it and said to my wife, no, let's go. Because, you know, of course.
Yeah.
And Venice Beach is inundated with that. It does a couple of things, but to fix it, that's the key. And I can't disclose it, my fix, but it's going to be, well, we'll see.
Right on.
I think it's going to be so incredible.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you're passionate about it, and I think it's hey, anything that you can do to help, you know, less fortunate people in this world, and you seem like such a great guy to, you know, to do that for those people too.
Well, what we got to do is give people direction.
Amen.
You know, like I said, you know, preaching is like giving directions to Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a lot of people that want to go to Disneyland, and they've been wanting to go all their lives, and that's what they're living for, because that's their dream. You see, I met them, and they come from all walks of lives, and so rather than just let them go to Disneyland, why not build a Disneyland?
There you go.
See, why not use the labor of the people that need a Disneyland to build their own?
That's a beautiful thought. That is a beautiful thought.
So that's partially what I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
That's just a little hint of it. Isn't that
Right
cool?
on. We'll
Isn't that
definitely keep our eyes out for that in the future, man. That's pretty awesome.
well? It won't be hidden if I'm right and I'm questioning. But I always got to remember, I get these thoughts after I smoke up. Okay. Now, if I go for a period of time without smoking, I'll start thinking of other things. You know.
Yep.
But the minute I light up, all of a sudden I go, oh, okay. It's like God talking to me. It
Yeah.
really is. It's like, okay, you're stoned. Okay, listen, I got your attention. Here's what we're going to do.
In a way, it quiets the voices in the outside world and quiets down the brain enough to where you could hear God speak. I can understand your thought process on that, definitely.
It does. It does.
Hmm.
Because, yeah, God whispers,
Hmm.
small, still voice. That's what the scriptures called it. Yeah. Yeah, I've had it a few times, and I got pushed around by God too one time.
Yeah.
I was walking down the street, going to the gym, and all of a sudden I felt myself being pushed, and I was like, almost looking around to say, "Who's pushing me?" And then, I saw this publishing house, HarperCollins, and next thing you know, I get pushed in the door. I mean, there was no one there. I walked in, but it was I was there was a force pushing me. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. Ever have anybody lift your arm for you for any reason? Well, anyway, like a puppet, you know. And
Yeah.
and and when I got into the store, I got literally shoved over to this section, and then I felt my hand go down and grab a book, and I brought up the book, and it was the autobiography of Joel S. Goldsmith.
Hmm.
In fact, remember that name if it's recorded. Joel S. Goldsmith.
Joel, that's good.
Yeah, and he's written quite a few songs. He's a spiritualist.
Oh,
But
okay.
I was given his autobiography. And then I went to the cashier, paid for it, and I don't think I went to the gym. I think I went home and read the book because it was such a trip. And as I read the book, I felt so comfortable because I understood everything that he was saying. Totally. I mean, it was like I understood. Joel he was born to a Jewish family. They were in the shmata business, the clothing business,
Oh,
and
okay.
and Joel. This is before the First World War, back in that time, and he got interested in spirituality very young, and he started somewhere along the line. He got turned on to a Christian Scientist, Mary Baker Eddy. She wrote this whole Christian Science thing. The ones where they feel that you can get healed. Don't do modern medicine. You can get healed, and then a lot of them died. You know, so. Uh, but anyway, he got turned on to them, and then he was brilliant. He became a Mason, and then what else? Anyway, you get his book. He explains life basically, and everything. He explains everything and how to live, and it was incredible, and it changed my life totally because I was on the right path. But when you ask and you receive, when you start asking, then you start receiving. And what you ask for is wisdom. And so that's what I learned in my book. I said, that you should pray for wisdom. That's the only prayer you really need.
Amen.
Be, yeah, because so many people, they think that the fact that they acknowledge God is is that's all you need. Well, in a lot of ways it is. but you always got to acknowledge that he is also the God of wisdom. That's why we're talking to these inventions that weren't even thought about when I was a kid. you know
Hmm.
in fact, I can remember watching the men put electricity in my house, and they didn't put it in the wall, they put it on the outside of the wall, and the strip of the wire went up and then got stapled and then went across the roof, boom, and there was a light bulb. And there was a switch. I'll never forget it, man.
I
But
had a I had an
yeah,
apartment in an old house back when I first moved out of I think I was 20 years old or something like that. And there was in the back bedroom, they had that still, the wires that would go up the wall and would
the
run
wall,
on glass insulators
yeah,
on the wall,
yeah. That was my first. No telephone and no running water. We had to carry the water from. It was a native, like a shack,
I
and
bet.
uh, and that's what it was, and that's my early life. And I was so blessed, blessed. I actually, when I was a baby, I don't remember, but my mother told me, my dad, he had a homestead and free land basically, but you had to raise something on that land. And my dad, I think he tried turkeys for a while there. In the land he bought, the only place that was we could live in was an old chicken coop, because
Oh
I guess
wow.
they divided up land, and anyway, the part my dad got was a chicken coop, and so my dad cleaned that out, and that's where we lived for I don't know how long, a year maybe, and that's I was born in the hospital, and I went right into a manger.
That's I hear some good people were going right into mangers after birth,
Yeah,
man.
a lot of good ones started there.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That started from the bottom, now you're here, huh?
Yeah, well, I got pushed around. Like I said, I got pushed around by God, and I still am. I got taken to Bible camp. I really was ordained in that sense, because living in the country, my brother and I were walking in the field one day, and we see this car coming through the field. You know, ever fly over LA or anywhere and look down and you see a lone road going kind of to a top of a mountain or to nowhere, you
I've
know,
never flown over them, but I went to Colorado and I've seen the mountain roads in the distance. Yeah.
and this is the dusty dirt road, you know, and my brother and I were walking barefoot. We're walking down that road, and you're walking the road because the dust felt good, and there wasn't anything sharp or glass, anything hurt your feet. So that's why we walked in the dusty road. But the car pulled up and it was full of missionaries, young missionaries, and they said, "You kids want to go to camp?" And we said, "Hell yeah!" And so we ended up in Bible camp, and I loved it so much. I was 8 years old, and I loved it so much. At the end of the camp, they gave an award for the nicest guy, and I won it. I won. There was the nicest girl and the nicest guy, and I won the nicest guy in Bible camp.
Hey,
I
that's pretty good
just
award right there, huh?
And it kind of showed me entertainment, because they had a cafeteria or dining room and a stage, you know, and the your different camp, your little tents performed, and I don't remember performing any. We must have, but what I do remember is all the Bible stories that these pretty girls, missionaries, would take us into the field, and we'd sit around and they'd sit there and read Bible stories to us. And then, oh, it's time for lunch. It was great. And it was beside a lake. And so no showers. So you just go jump in the lake in the morning
Oh,
and go
right
for a
on.
swim. That was your shower. Oh man, it was incredible. 2 weeks,
Huh.
2 weeks. And what I learned there, I learned how to pray the first day, in the tent. And he said, "Welcome. Okay, this is your first lesson," and And I don't remember verbatim what he said, but it was similar to, like this is how you connect with God, and this is what you want to do. And I think I got to pray for wisdom out of that. I'm quite sure it was, because I remember, because when you learn to pray for the first time, that's life changing, because up until then you're sort of like looking, or just being tossed from one situation to another,
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but when I went to camp, and even when I was young, even before camp, I'd go to Sunday school because it was the only reason we had to wear nice clothes, or even to get dressed. You know, you get dressed. You guys are going to Sunday school. Oh, okay. And I learned, and I love Sunday school because it was all about love and and Jesus and God. And I remember coming home from Sunday school one time, and they had taught that God is everywhere, everywhere. And so I was walking home, and I'm going to say, if God's everywhere, where is he? Would I recognize him if he came up? Is he following us? Where is God? And then for some reason I looked up in the night sky, and in Canada there's no city lights in the country.
Beautiful
And it
stars.
was clear. You can imagine how clear the skies and how low the stars and the galaxies. And I mean, you could see everything, satellites or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
comets, all sorts of action going on in the sky. It was incredible. And so when I said, "Where is God?" it was like, "Oh, there's God."
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't realize that
I
until
I grew up in the
just
Northwoods
recently.
of Wisconsin, so I've seen. I was there. I mean, there's some small towns in the area, but I know what you're talking about. How beautiful the stars are up in those remote areas. It's absolutely
Breathtaking.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Breathtaking. I mean, you stop and you kind of remember, and those nights, where the smoke goes straight up, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the smoke from the wood fires,
Oh
the
yeah.
smoke goes straight up. There's nothing moving, and it's so clear and so beautiful. It's not dark at all. It's bright. It's bright, especially if the moon's out. But it's so bright. It's like it's incredible. And
Absolutely.
and that was my that's what you did. I mean, people think, well, you never had television, never had radio. So what did you do? It's shit like this.
Go out and stare at the stars and play with a stick and a rock, man.
Yeah, that was our toys. Oh,
Yeah.
and that's another thing. There was no toy stores. We made our own toys.
Yeah, like paper toys and cutout toys and stuff
Oh
like
no,
that.
these were wood. I
Oh, there
lived
you
in the
go.
country, man, and we had a wood, little kindling wood thing, and I had an English neighbor. He moved in next door. He was from England, and it was an older kid, and he made all his own toys. He had great stuff. Like he had a 22 rifle, and he would make these war boats, sailboats, and then he would shoot them. He'd shoot them like in the army, like in the war. And I saw just by watching him, looking at him, I figured out how to make the boats, carve the boats. Then he made what do you call stilts, and that was another thing. I never did get good on stilts. My brother was really good, but so you made your own toys. And then I found out later, that I'm part native because I always used to make bows and arrows, but more the bow than anything. And then yeah, we made bows and arrows, and I was really good at slingshots. I can make a really good slingshot because back in the day you had inner tubes for the car tires,
Yeah.
and you go to the garage and there was always some old inner tube they didn't want. Can I have this? Sure, okay. And then take it home. And you cut the strips, and
You
oh
use it for
man, we made our own little race cars. Now, you could race, you could barely move with the fuckers, but 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 we had fun doing it, man. And there was no garbage pickup, and so when someone didn't want anything, they put it out in the on the alley or on the side of the road, and then if you wanted it, you picked it up, took it home. And I still do that to this day. I can't walk by and someone's, throwing out shit, without looking at it and thinking.
Yeah, the first Thursday of every month here in Whitewater, they do like big garbage pickup. Like if you got chairs or mattresses or any of that stuff to throw away, you just leave it at the end of your driveway. And I'm like a kid in a candy store when I'm coming home from work on those Thursdays, and I'll see the piles around town. I'm like, it's pile day! Wow, we gotta go check out some piles, man.
Isn't it crazy?
It is the stuff
Well,
people throw away.
back in my day, we had a dump. We had a city dump, Calgary dump, and it was surreal, really, because there was a family living there in the dump.
Oh.
And I remember seeing the young girl and standing there, amongst the garbage, like kind of tapped down, driven over and everything else. But it was a garbage dump, and that's where a lot of good stuff. There was a army dump, army base near us. In fact, in Calgary, we were surrounded by native tribes, Indians, and we're surrounded by military installations. And we would go because they were close to us in the country. We'd go to their dump, and that's where I found a Red Fox comedy album.
Oh.
And I heard it. I heard the Dirty record back when I was a kid. And now I got kids listening to Cheech and Chong Dirty records.
Yeah. I was gonna say some of the first comedy records I listened to was Dave's Not Here, man. That was one of the first Cheech and Chong things I ever heard was Dave's Not Here.
That was the first record we ever did.
Oh yeah,
The absolute first number. We hadn't even recorded yet. We were rehearsing in a little tape recorder, and I created that bit because I wouldn't let Cheech in the door, and he was melting in the heat outside, and he wouldn't break character, and so I wanted to see how long I'd keep him outside, and so when I said who is it? I wouldn't answer. He'd knock on it. Who is it? Then he would whisper it, and I wouldn't answer.
Dave, man.
Then finally
the door, man.
He finally goes, "It's Dave," and Dave was our old partner, and so I knew where he was going with it. I said, Dave, and then when I said Dave's not here, oh man, it was a perfect prank, and it became a record. Can you imagine? See how blessed I am.
So it wasn't supposed to be that way. It was you were supposed to let him in.
I was supposed to let him in. We're going to do a whole other bit. we just stopped at the comedy, and because it was so funny. It was so funny. Then we realized that's what we want to record. We were like the first TikTok recording artists, because TikTok's so short, and our bits were basically, they were comedy bits.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
When I think back, the dogs in the background, they're stealing the show.
We had my dog.
Yeah, he was back there flipping on his head and stuff.
Oh, he's a camera hog. When I do TikTok, he's right there, and right now, so he knows. He picked up that who I'm talking to. You found out who I'm talking to, huh? That's Captain.
That's Captain.
I was going to call him Rebound, but I called him Captain first. No, my son Paris, his other girlfriend had a dog. And like him, only he fell in love with Paris. And so when Paris broke up with the girl, the dog went into mourning, so much so that she had to give him to Paris.
Oh,
or else
wow.
he would have starved. He bonded with Paris too much, and so he's with Paris now. And so then when Paris got married, he had to kind of give up the dog, you know. Uh,
Huh.
no, his ex took his dog as revenge, you know,
Oh,
and so
okay.
she took him, and so we bought Captain to replace him. And so for a while there, Paris had two dogs, and then he got married, and his wife insisted that to narrow it down to one dog, and so then I ended up with the Captain, and
Oh,
he's been with me ever since. He's my guy.
right on. Dogs are awesome. I got a little one named Tay Tay, and then my girlfriend has a uh, Basset Hound Blue Heeler mix. He's pretty short, but he's long, man.
He's long. And they're so intelligent, huh?
Oh, amen, amen to that one, man.
I love
They
them.
know when you're like you said, he knows you're doing the camera thing. My dogs, as soon as they hear me, like the end of my videos, I always say, "Until tomorrow, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay clean." And when I say that, the dogs come in the door. They know
Oh,
that
they
I'm
might
done.
come in now then, huh?
Yeah, I'm done with the video, and, and it's time to go out. You know?
Time to go for a walk. Now you can. Well, that's what he does too. He'll come
Yeah.
out. I'll be sitting there watching TV. All of a sudden, he comes up and gives me a big paw. You know, hey, I'm here too. You know, pay attention to me. I love him. He's my buddy. He's no. I'm getting to the point where I can whisper to him now, and
Oh yeah.
he obeys. But if he doesn't want to obey, you know, he can get that deaf look. You know, like what? I'll be with you in a minute. You know, he gives me that shit.
Let me finish what I was doing.
Yeah.
Oh man, I guess we're actually well over an hour now, but I appreciate you hanging out with me, Tommy.
A lot of fun, man. It's a lot
Yeah,
of fun.
for sure.
No,
Love getting this, you got a
I
lot of
always,
knowledge in you.
I always bond with ex junkies, man. You know, they're just my people.
Amen. Amen. We've both been to jail.
Yeah, you know
Used to
that
do.
feeling.
Yeah, yeah, all too well.
Well, it's a life experience. That's what I say, man. You know, I told you I was jealous of my buddy that went to jail and got all buffed, you know, and I got people I can tell. Uh, who was it? Bill Maher. There was some writers that were jealous of me, you know, because I had that experience, you know, that embedded with the troops experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel I bring it up. Yeah, I used to years ago when after I've been in there, we'd be out for dinner with some, you know, sort of like rich, you know, upper class kind of, you know, that elite. And I would bring up the fact, you know, that reminds me of when I was in jail. I let them know that I was in jail. And then a lot of times they would loosen everybody else up. Well, yeah, you know, I was there too, and you know, yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
did that. You know, once you get that camaraderie, you know, where you understand, you know, you've been there, done that. It's fun. I do that quite a bit. Don't need it now. Everybody kind of expects it, you know, from me. So I can't use that bit anymore.
It doesn't get the same punch anymore. They already know you did it
Yeah, well, that's
well,
the way. You got to write a new show all the time, you
huh? You know, one thing we always talk about over here, and if I don't say it, everybody's going to beat me up for not telling you about it, is especially with cannabis and recovery. A lot of people say, you know, hey, you can't recover that way. You're still using a drug. You're just trading one drug for another. You know, recovery doesn't work that way. It's got to be the 12 steps. It's got to be NA. And around here at the Point of Change, we say, I don't care what keeps you clean. If sticking a pickle in your butt keeps you clean, then stick the pickle. And it's become a whole thing. It's become a whole thing. Pickle butt recovery, we call it.
know. You know, pickles are the best thing for indigestion.
Hey,
Did
hey,
you know
there's
that?
more
That's
good
why
things
the
about pickles.
delis, you know, the pickles, you know, in the delis, the Jewish food, It was for indigestion, for when you eat too much, because the pickle
Oh,
juice has the same acid as your stomach. The same. It works the same thing. Because when
oh,
you get
okay.
heartburn or whatever it is, your indigestion, it's because you don't have enough of the juices, digestive
Yeah,
juices.
my old man used to say that. He used to say it's the best for acid reflux because
That's
acid
right.
reflux is just the acid. There's not enough acid, and it's churning the acid up, and that's why it
That's
gets up
right.
into your throat, and you got to drink some
Your old
pickle
man's
juice.
smart.
Yeah, he sure was.
I learned that from another jailbird too.
Yeah,
No, no, the pickles goes, but yeah, a pickle in the butt. It doesn't matter what you do to get you clean.
yeah. I
It
don't. Marijuana helped me, or cannabis has helped me. There's many people that use methadone, Suboxone. The 12 steps is definitely, that works for some people. It doesn't, but it doesn't work for everybody. The 100% sobriety 12-step program works for the people that it works for. It's great, but there are some people that just can't live that lifestyle.
no, it's very simple. It's like when people are in mental homes. Oh, did I lose you?
Nope, I'm
Oh
still
no,
here.
when people in mental homes, like I've had, I had a friend, a nurse that was in worked in a mental home, and the law was you're not supposed to work there more than a year, because you start developing the same symptoms as mental people do. But what you
Oh, okay.
do with mental people, you get them involved in art, finger
Oh,
painting,
yeah. Yeah.
making washcloths, making pipes, making anything, doing something with their hands,
Doing something
creating.
creative.
See, creating, and once you start creating, drawing, whatever you do. When I was in prison, and there's quite a few guys were in there just drawing every chance they get. They're drawing and rehab. That's what you do. And what we're doing, basically, with the 12-step program, it's like a comedy class, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
because you're getting up and you're telling them the truth about yourself. And for the most part, when you think about it, it gets funny because you
Yeah.
do ridiculous things. And so that's why I was so at home at that uh, rehab place that I talked at, because it felt like a comedy club, and because that's what comedy clubs really are. People
Yeah. Yeah.
seeking truth and seeking, you know,
And
seeking
it's a really
like-minded
excellent way to
folks.
express yourself too,
Yeah,
being on stage, grabbing that
yeah,
microphone, and a lot of times comedy, I think the best comedians come from, telling a traumatic story they went through, of a car accident, or like I recently watched your episode of This Is Not Happening, where you talked about when you were raided and for
yeah.
bongs, and for going to jail. Comedy often comes from that darker place of just making
It
stuff.
does, not often. It has to. That's how you cope with it. With all of this. What
Oh,
happened here?
now I lost your video. I
Oh,
still hear you. Can't see you though.
no, I disappeared. Let me see. I'll find you.
Oh, he'll come back. We'll give him a minute. He might come back on here, guys. We'll give him just a second. Uh, you screwed it up. See what happens? See what happens. This is what happens. This is what happens when old stoners try to use technology. We have, hey, there he is. Look at that.
Through the whole ritual.
We got you
And,
back.
and by the way, now that I think of it, the 12-step program. You notice how everything has to be put in order.
Hmm.
In order for this to work, you can't just go there and just hope shit happens. You got to go this step, that, all the way up until you reach this step. And I love I love and what you're seeing with the rabble rousers, the ones that are out of step, is they're fighting that urge or that need to put things in order. Because if you put things in order, then you can see what's important, what's not important, and so on. And where everything fits.
Amen.
But if it's just haphazard, or just thrown up there, or just brought up because it's like having the winning ticket all the time, never losing. You know, that doesn't work. That's a lie.
Yep.
Yeah, being truthful is the best. Okay, I gotta
All
go.
right. Yeah, I should let you go, brother. Thanks for coming and spending some time with us and sharing with us, man. This has been amazing.
Anytime. You need me, you call me. I'll be there. Like that song, you know.
There.
If you need me, just call me and I'll be there. Just
Right.
call out my name and you'll know wherever I am. I'll come running to see you again. Take care, y'all.
Thanks, Tommy. Have a good night. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Pointer Change meets Tommy Chong. Holy crap. Still a little trembly. I'm getting through it, though. That was friggin' amazing. I am so happy that we made this happen. I'm so happy that I said yes to these opportunities. I'm so happy that I found that this was even a possibility that this could happen, and that I really, like he said, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, like it says in the scripture. And I asked and I see and I sook, and here we are. So this was an awesome video. Thank you guys for being so patient and being such a good, attentive audience and keeping up with the reactions. I'm sorry I didn't get to any of the comments while I was live. I did see a few of them. I did, Johnny Childress. I did. I seen I seen a lot of your comments. All right, but I will have to go back through and check them out and reply to them and stuff. But I wanted to make sure I was being attentive to my guest, as you can imagine. So thank you guys so much for joining me on this. This was awesome. I appreciate everybody being here. Make sure you share this out, like, love, and throw a comment up. Build up some priority on this video, even though it has plenty of priority, because you guys are amazing and you guys were all just as excited as I was about this. So thank you guys for being here. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow morning tomorrow morning I will be working because my schedule is weird. But next week we go back to the normal schedule, 10 a.m. Central, Monday through Saturday. I will see you guys there. The rest of this week, Caitlin may go live for me, but I will try to go live when I come home in the afternoons from work and catch up with you guys. So thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay clean.